Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I know how busy your schedule can be, but at the same time, so much is happening in your sector. So much is happening with you as the proprietor of Roraima Airways. First of all, 5 years prior to where we're at today, when it comes to your company, we would have spoken and you would have shared that you were excited about the 5 years going forward. We're here
Yeah,
in
it's true.
what seems to be such a short time, but we are here. Can you speak to the development that has happened, not only with you personally as a company, but in the private sector as a whole?
Absolutely. Well, this 5 years has been very exciting, and I think this is a really nice opportunity that we can recap the last 5 years since we've spoken. So since then, Roraima has had some very fortunate events happen to us. We acquired our two new aircraft, the Tecnam P-2012s, which in my opinion is going to revolutionize the way that we do flying here in Guyana. Basically it's a luxury aircraft, so you have adventure on the outside, luxury on the inside. Arrow Point, after COVID, Arrow Point, the nature resort took a big hit, but we were able to work and we got it back up to standard, and Arrow Point has been doing fantastic ever since. The expansion at Chedijegan International Airport has been a tremendous help for us. As you know, we got more handling contracts with Avianca, Sky High, Into Caribbean all started. American Airlines up the number of flights that they're having. You have all these other international airlines coming to Guyana. And with the expansion of the airport comes the private sector investment is increasing as well. So I don't know if you know this, but Roraima actually operated and operates currently the only and first executive lounge open to the public. So we're super excited for the expansion of the airport project. There's going to be hopefully a larger lounge space that we can get into, and that we can continue our investment into Chedijegan International and serving the traveling public. So, Roraima has been going through a lot of very important and major changes. We have, aside from the aircraft and the resort and Chedijegan, I just became the chairman of the Private Sector Commission, which to me is a very hallowed and coveted position, not only from the business community, but from my family. I'm proud to say that I come from a family of aviators. And I come from a family that has given their time, their effort, their expertise into building not just the company, but for the wider country. Both my parents have served on different boards. My dad was the president of the GCCI. He was the chairman of the private sector on multiple occasions. So myself now serving as a private sector chairman, I think it's an honor to kind of follow in those amazing footsteps, so that as Roraima does grow, I can also be part of the private sector growth. In the last 5 years, the Ali government has actually done a very good job at embracing private sector investment. They have engaged with us. They have given us the opportunity, and in some ways, slight guidance. You just have to pay attention to what is said in the budget and what Ali or Ashley Singh or Jagdeo will say in their speeches, and you just have to align your businesses to that, right? And as you can imagine, it's not just oil and gas. They've done a good job at diversifying the economy across tourism, infrastructure, agriculture, and many other sectors. And we as a private sector, we're agile, we're aggressive, and I think that we were doing a very good job at taking advantage of these opportunities given by the government. So, I'm excited to talk a little bit more about how we have, been able to adapt and some of the strategic things that we have done. One of the biggest things that kind of brings these two worlds together is, Roraima's growth and the private sector growth, along with the enabling environment done by the Ali government, is our success with Omni Helicopters Guyana. Omni Helicopters Guyana back in 2018 was just a dream of creating Guyana's first helicopter company that meets the oil and gas standards. So, and one great story that kind of brings these worlds together is, the success of Roraima, and as the growth of the private sector, our international investors, and the enabling environment from the Ali government was the formation of Omni Helicopters Guyana, which is Guyana's first helicopter company that meets oil and gas standards. In 2018, it was really just a dream to have a helicopter company employing locals, training locals to be pilots and engineers on the most advanced helicopters in the world, and we can do that right here. And in 2022, we were lucky enough and have the opportunity that we can bid, and we won the contract to go and do the work in the offshore environment. So Omni Helicopters Guyana has been flying, the Sikorsky 92 helicopters, which I don't know if you know, but it is the most advanced helicopter in this market at the moment. And we're working with different companies on the next level of aviation. And I know I can nerd out a little bit on aviation, but as a pilot, I think that that's my right. So, with Omni Helicopters, we're training pilots in the US right now to be helicopter pilots. We're giving them a pipeline into this field. We're training engineers right here in Guyana, and we're going to continue doing this year after year as we develop the local content and local capacity in the aviation, oil and gas sector. So that's just, Omni became a nice kind of cornerstone for Guyanese development, and a testament to what we can do when we have great strategic partners like I do with Omni. We have a good local private sector company that's dedicated to work, like with us in Roraima. The private sector, is adamant that we are looking for more strategic partnerships. And under the Ali government, I think it's been actually very encouraging to see that they're promoting foreign direct investment. They're promoting the education for our young people to meet the standards, and they're giving us a chance to participate as small as we need to or as large as we want to. And I'm excited for it.
Beautifully said. President Ali, ensuring that the opportunities are there. While we would have seen a lot of Guyanese, a vast number of Guyanese are excited about what's to come. Mm-hmm. While we're seeing the changes that are happening, we also have the skeptics, or the persons who are not pleased with what they are seeing, if I may say that. Mm-hmm. But you being in this position, the fact that you have been at it to ensure that to make sure rather that you're grabbing the opportunities mm-hmm. that are out there for persons like yourself and for other persons in the private sector. With all of that being said, what would you like to say to the general public in regards to capitalizing on the opportunities that are given, and not necessarily sitting thinking that we are entitled to be given
Correct.
From it, rather than working for what we want, in a sense?
Yeah. Honestly, I think that you've answered the question in your question. I think you said it very well there, is that we have to do the work. The thing is that, whilst we have all of this oil wealth that's being built, right? What I'm happy that this government has done is that they haven't really developed a handout economy, right? People aren't necessarily waiting for the next stimulus check that's going to come in the mail. You know what I mean? Yes, they do one-offs every now and then, which will help stimulate the economy in different times and so on, but it's not becoming dependent on it, which is what I like. I like the fact that most of the initiatives are facilitative in nature. It's free education, right? Free tradesmanship courses for people to do welding, electrical work offshore, to do the highly specialized courses that are happening offshore. We're training them right here. Or if not, they're giving them scholarships, like we did with Omni, to send people to the States to do the pilot training. So, what I have seen as a leader in the private sector and as an investor here in Guyana is that you have to be open and flexible to the opportunities. For example, just because it was done one way for the last 30 years doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it now. Embracing technology, digitizing your business, using AI in ways that you can really maximize the effectiveness and the productivity that you can do, I think is the key. And I really like the fact that, the government has opened up opportunities for young people to become coders, for example, to start taking advantage of this technology and potentially even getting into the AI stream, promoting STEM industries and promoting STEM opportunities for our young people. And especially being in aviation, it's a STEM field. So we're seeing a lot more interaction from the young people in this industry. A lot more engineers are coming through, a lot more people interested in being in the operations side of it and eventually becoming pilots. These are the opportunities that we're starting to see become a lot more available. ROV underwater drone pilots. And so, you know what I mean? So it starts to become a very exciting field. From the private sector side of it, we've had some challenges in terms of, like access to capital, right? But then I saw that the government released the legislation that allows now for movable capital to be used as collateral in your loans, which is something that is going to help transform and push the economy to the next level where I don't need to have land in order to get a loan to fulfill a contract. And that really modernizes the way that we're doing things. They're embracing digital signatures. Something as simple as digital signatures will allow me now to interact with my international partners and start to move the business deals along to become competitive on an international and even a local scale. One of the things that I have to say that has been very encouraging is seeing, right now in Suriname, they're having an oil and gas expo. And I spoke to an investor over there who was shocked and impressed to see the amount of Guyanese businesses, local, homegrown Guyanese businesses that are competing now at a world stage in Suriname for oil and gas work. So our ability to now export, right, Guyanese talent into our neighboring countries for oil and gas shows a lot about the opportunities that were created over the last 5 years, the private sector that capitalized on sending their people to learn, capitalizing on the Greater Guyana Initiative, the loans and grants that were given through that initiative. You have organizations like the IDB that have promoted and worked with the different organizations to really bring that up to a different level. And even from the private sector side of it, a lot of our efforts are going towards developing the small, medium enterprises. We're doing a lot of promotion into, going into these hinterland communities to really start to invest or really bring them in part of your supply chain. There's been a lot of interaction between, the local content secretariat, for example, meets with these businesses, and then they would tell the larger businesses, hey, how do we get you directly to the farmer so that you can start working with them to meet the standard and start doing that supply? And that's something that has been happening. And through the local content secretariat, I have to say that Dr. Pertab has been a driving force behind this. He is calling all the private sector leaders all the time to say, hey, listen, we need to meet, we need to talk about how do we engage with the local farmers? How do we engage with the local suppliers to really maximize this? So it's more than just what you see on TV or what you hear in the newspapers, but it's about the work that's being done on the ground by both public and private sector. And finally, all I would like to say is, as a private sector commission, we are very committed to developing these small businesses, small, medium businesses. And we acknowledge that there sometimes can be a gap between, you might have a great idea, but you may need some help in terms of developing the business plan, the financial feasibility study, and making it bankable so that when you go to a bank, you're speaking the same language. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is that we've actually worked with the IDB, and we're setting up a small business development desk hosted at the private sector, but it's offered throughout the industry, where you can get free consultation on developing these tools so that you can go to the bank and even getting grants from the bank, which we'll be launching in the next couple of weeks to months. So you're going to see a lot of work coming out of the private sector to promote these small businesses so that they can get into a position and they can take advantage of all of these opportunities that we're getting.
Quite insightful. As it regards to agriculture, mm-hmm. as it regards to something that I know and some place that I know that you have a great passion for, the hinterland.
Yeah.
Our position now in Guyana when it comes to agriculture, food security, and of course, Guyana taking the lead. We can factually say that now. What would be that message that you would like to give, not only to the youth, but to mm-hmm. Guyanese in a whole, to partake in agriculture in a sense of it's lucrative,
yeah.
but at the same time, it is the opportunity for you to better your health. But I also think the onus is on us to play our part with that.
Yeah.
In regards to the hinterland communities, with all that we're seeing in there and all that's happening, mm-hmm. in every sector, it's not no more on the coast where we're seeing development. The hinterland has been transformed drastically.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So in terms of agriculture, I saw a report that said that Guyana is the only country in the world that can feed ourselves without any sort of food import. And I think that is the only country in the world. And I think that is an amazing achievement that we have done. And then not only are we able to feed ourselves, but we're also now gearing up to feed the Caribbean. I've heard President Ali say that he wants Guyana to become the breadbasket of the Caribbean. That, we want to, aside from what was the 25 by 25 initiative, but is now 2030, Guyana is leading the way. And I'm really enjoying the fact that, they are creating these opportunities. For example, they've created support programs with the shade houses for the young people. There's an entire structure developed that helps, the young entrepreneurs, the agriculture entrepreneurs. They are promoting hydroponics, they're promoting aquaponics and so on. A lot of people don't know this, but if you go on the Go Invest website right now, and if you haven't checked out Go Invest, I highly recommend that you do, because that is the investment arm of the Guyana government. And they have a lot of publications that outline the different incentives, waivers, and areas that they're asking you to invest in. And if you actually go through it, you'll quickly realize that there's more incentives in the Guyana to invest in agriculture than the oil and gas sector. So why not take advantage of these opportunities? Why not take advantage of these incentives and lures that international companies are coming to, right? You have people coming from, all the way from the Middle East. You have people coming from China. You have people coming from the US, from England, from Canada. And we are right here with all of the same incentives, and we can take advantage of it. But we have to do the work. We have to go on the Go Invest website. We have to read the area where it talks about agriculture, about the fact that we can bring in machinery at zero duty and zero taxes. The fact that we will get help with fertilizer. We will get help with building materials. We will get help to use technology to develop these agriculture products. And the fact is that the government is incentivizing you to do it outside of Georgetown, which is fantastic, right? They want you to go to the different regions. They're incentivizing you to go to the different regions. And we as Guyanese just need to be able to take advantage of these opportunities and go where the opportunities are. Don't wait for the opportunities to come to you. So what I would say to the agriculture boom is that, start thinking about technology, right? And especially with aquaponics and hydroponics, there's a lot of technology that you don't need 100 acres of land anymore. You can do what 100 acres of land can do on 1 acre of land, depending on the type of crop that you use. And using vertical hydroponics, there's things that you can do. And it's not as harmful to the environment. It's a lot easier to manage, and you can start to really supply the industries with smaller investments. And I think that that's where we have to really get to start thinking, is just embracing technology, especially in agriculture. We also have to remember the fact that, a lot of the customers that we're looking to sell to, quality matters, right? So as we get more into the agriculture business, we have to understand that it's not only about the fertilizer that we use, it's not only about how we pick it, but it's also how do we store it? How do we package it? So starting to get into a lot of these procedures, and by the way, there are training programs for all of this through NARI, through the Ministry of Agriculture and so on, and we just have to take advantage of them. Most of them are free. You can go to UG right now for free and learn how to be an agronomist. So the point is that all the opportunities are there for the agriculture industry, and I have a feeling that that is really where we're going to see the next big boom. The boom that we had was in oil and gas. I believe that if you're looking for an investment, right, and you're looking for the future, and not long in the future, within the next 5 years, I believe, invest in agriculture, and you will see your returns happen. For the hinterland community, as you rightfully said, the hinterland community holds a very special place in my heart. I'm super fortunate to be able to have flown and continue to fly to every region across Guyana. And what I can tell you is that you're seeing development in every single region, whether it's the road that they've just built in Mabaruma, to the medical systems that I'm seeing they're putting up in Maruka, to the vast transformation of Region 8 in terms of their connectivity and their infrastructure there. And then from the Rupununi, we know about that road that's being built from Linden to Lethem that is eventually going to connect to the Deepwater Harbor, right? That plan is going to transform the hinterland, because with that road comes business, right? And with business comes money, with money comes development. So if we think about where that road is going to run, from Linden to Mabura, all the way down to Lethem, and then connecting to the northern Brazil, which has millions of people, millions of industry that is manufacturing products every single day that need to travel days south to be shipped north, we're going to have a direct line to a deepwater harbor that will create Guyana as a transshipment hub for all of these manufacturing products being developed in northern Brazil. It's also going to create periphery businesses around that road, which you're going to see transform Region 9, Region 8, all the way up into Region 10 and then eventually into Region 5, where the Deepwater Harbor is going to happen, 5 and 6. So the idea is that if you pay attention, if you just zoom out a little bit, right? Most of us have access to Google Maps, right, on our computer. Just zoom out a little bit and look at where Guyana is, where it connects to Suriname, how they're going to be building the bridge between Guyana and Suriname, how we're developing that Deepwater Harbor at the top and that big road going down to the south. And you will see the development that will be impacting the hinterland community within the next 5 years. So I'm a strong believer on you're going to see one of the greatest transformations of this country, right, in the next 5 years. The last 5 years have been amazing. This next 5 years, I believe, is going to be exponential as well, especially with these major infrastructure projects happening. And I know that there's a lot of push for the hinterland community to start developing microgrids for the power. I know that there's a lot of movement going to the hinterland community to start developing micro industries for small scale manufacturing. Tourism is going to be a booming industry in the hinterland community. I know that the GTA has been doing a lot of work promoting the different nature resorts. Glamping is now going to start to become a thing here in Guyana. And I think that promoting this level of tourism is going to continue to boost. There's no secret that the Rupununi Rodeo is one of our staple events every single year, and it's growing year by year by year. And what that says about the environment and the economy is that the Region 9 economy is booming, right? And I can guarantee you that you're going to see a lot more investment with that road as it gets completed. You're going to see a lot more hotels, a lot more restaurants, a lot more tourism focused products developing in that area. So I have a feeling that the hinterland community is going to see a transformational change in the next 5 years, and I'm super excited to be here for it. What I would like to start off by saying is that, as elections is coming upon us in the next 3 months, we as a private sector are going to be fielding an electoral observation mission, like we've done for every local and national elections for generations. But I myself, when I came back to Guyana 10 years ago in 2015, I was the one who coordinated the operations and the observer mission for the private sector. With that observer mission, what we do is that we actually collaborate very closely with GCOM, with the international observers, the Carter Center, UN, ABC, EU countries, and so on. And we're going to be doing that again this year. And I can tell you that, we usually field between 500 to 1,000 people, and already we're getting people signing up to be at the different polling stations across the different regions, because the private sector, not only are we made up by the business support organizations here in Georgetown, but also from the regional chambers across Guyana. So what we do is that we actually engage, we collaborate with the different BSOs, and then we have these people in the different polling stations. And it starts before nomination day, during nomination on the 14th of July, all the way through the elections day, and then the declaration. So we are actually going to do the observer mission throughout. And what we want is free, fair, transparent, and fast elections. The thing is that in the private sector, in 2020, as unfortunate as 2020 was from the business community side of it, it destroyed a lot of our businesses. And then COVID came very quickly after. Our investment in the business community as a private sector is now tenfold. So we cannot, and we will not, right? If the private sector can promote this free and transparent elections, we will have an efficient elections, that we will, have elections, and then we will have our declaration that we can continue to build the country together. And that is the private sector's goal. So, the private sector is a non-political organization, right? We support the Guyana and Guyana's economy, as well as the Guyanese people. So once the elections are fair, free, and transparent and efficient, we are excited to work with the government to continue to push it forward. Now, what I would say, as we're coming up to elections day and as we're looking forward, right, a story comes to mind about how the opportunities in Guyana, we see the massive companies getting all these big contracts, and we see, the companies that are building, massive roads and the bridge and so on. But, I heard a story just yesterday. I heard a story about, a school teacher, right? And she was taking the bus, and the bus driver, he was super happy because he saved up his money. He bought one extra bus. They parted ways for a few years, and just recently, this year, right? She saw him again and she asked, "Hey, how are you doing? How's the buses?" And he turned to her and he's like, "Oh, so happy. All right, I'm building my third road." So that kind of success story. Now, right, for a lot of people, they may be like, "Oh, it's only a road," but for this man, he was able to pay off for his buses. He was able to finish and furnish his home, support his family, and he now has a budding construction business where he is building roads, right? And that all came about because the contracts were given to the small people in the communities to build their community. And that alone to me was such an inspiring story, right? And people get deluded sometimes by looking at all of these large contracts and, oh, I could never get involved and so on. But focus on the opportunities, focus on the incentives, and pay attention to what is being said, right? Go on the Go Invest websites, listen to the speeches that are being made, and forget the rhetoric, right? Forget the rhetoric. Look at what the facts say, right? A very intelligent man has told me lots of times during my life that you are entitled to your opinions, but you are not entitled to the facts. And let the facts speak. So what I would say is, I'm fortunate enough to have a father and a mother who have guided me through my life and have given me lots of wisdom and lots of mentorship. What I would say to the Guyanese young people specifically is pay attention. Don't be afraid to do the work. And there is a lot of help out there for you, but you got to do the work. You got to come forward. Come to the private sector, right? We will work with you to develop that business free of cost. We will put you in touch with the banks and we will work with you to get your business going. Take advantage of the opportunities that this government has created for you, right? And you may now have a budding tourism business, a budding agriculture business, a budding construction business, a budding aviation business, and you will have the opportunity to participate in our economy. And honestly, I can tell you that I have been super excited to be part of it for the last 5 years. I'm going to be super excited for another 5 years. And I hope that we have this discussion then too.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.